Hey there guys, so there's been a lot of comments on my previous video saying that the Armageddon legendary fight is giving them a lot of problems. What do I do if I don't have Sylvie, don't have Esther, don't have the really high-end stuff you used in your previous clear? I'm going to be going back to showing a cheaper, kind of a more budget way to take out the legendary version with all missions. So we got to use a bunch of limit bursts, no KOs, and evoke an Esper, so that'll be pretty standard. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab an Esther friend, a 7-star that's using a lightning or a non-weapon with some earth resist. We want to filter it, so it shows only Esters, or mostly Esters. Now you want to find an Esther on Golem. So it looks like we've got 2 on Golem. We've got, I guess, Dash. Let's try to find one with really good gear. Ultimate Weapon, Heart Overcoming Hatred. Okay, this guy is extremely well geared. We're not going to go for someone quite so high-end geared if possible. Let's go with the other Esther, Elmsmore. Perfect. Elmsmore is actually a friend of mine. How's he geared? Lionheart, 1 super TMR. Okay, so 1 super TMR, and he's not using any like big limit. Okay, this is like a middle of the pack. It's like a high-end Esper, but it's not a whale Esther. So this is good. He's on Golem for Stone Killer, so we're gonna grab this Esther. Their resistance does not matter. So this is the basic team we're going to be using. The core roles you need to do is an evasion provoker, a magical cover tank with lots of earth resist, a powerful breaker, a buffer, and a healer that does not use white magic. So let me show you how we're going to be doing this. We're going to use the free unit Lightning. You'll see mine's level 101. She's not even leveled. All she is going to do every turn is provoke with evasion. Lightning has a lot of natural evasion. She's very easy to gear for 100% evasion. You'll notice I'm only using cheap TMRs like 4-star and 3-star TMRs. No Ring of the Luci. Just plain old evasion stuff. And she does have Moogle plushie, so she can provoke, and she's on Golem. She's going to provoke every turn with Golem and just soak those single target physical hits with evade. She does need to be immune to Paralyze and Petrify. I think she's got Paralyze immunity from the vest and Petrify from the gold armlet. So there you go. Her stats do not matter beyond that. Deuce is going to be our healer. Now, a better choice would be Folka, Myra, or Rena, because those are all heal, and maybe more. I can't think of everybody. But those are healers that don't use white magic. If you cast white magic, like Curaja, Re-Raise, etc., the boss will heal himself by a huge amount. You cannot use white magic if you want the boss to not heal himself. So Deuce is going to be singing her song, and other than that, she's got some decent defense and immunity to Paralyze and Petrify. But her song is a good healing song, and it's not considered white magic. Watto is only here for his buff. He's an Earth Resist buffer that also gives mitigation. It's called Dirt Wall Technique. It's a 60% Earth Resist buff and a 20% mitigation buff in one. Watto is a 4-star unit. Most people probably have him at this point. If you've got a better buffer, by all means bring them. Sylvie is amazing. Marie is good for the Earth Resist buff. Nicole, Zargabath, the list goes on and on and on. Just bring a buffer that can buff Earth Resist. For the magical cover tank, we're going to use Beryl. Any magical cover tank is totally fine. All we're doing is covering. We're not using any of the rest of the kit. Just covering every turn. So Beryl's got plenty of Earth Resist. He's got 235 Earth Resist, and with Watto's buff, that'll be 295. Almost 300%, and he's got immunity to Paralyze and Petrify. You'll notice his gear is pretty low end, but you can buy Gaia gears in just cities that's 50% Earth Resist. Some of this gear you get from the lower difficulties. This is just really easy to acquire gear. Any magic cover tank works. So Beryl, White Knight Noel, Awakened Rain, Bosch, Charlotte would be amazing. She's probably the best choice if you have her. Go for it. Lauren is going to be our breaker. Now, it's important you bring someone that can chain with Esther's Limit Burst, which is the Aurora Ray family. Lauren can if she's single wielding. You notice I gave her a shield. She is not dual wielding. She's also going to be our breaker, so that's really her only duty. She's got some auto limit so she can keep the breaks active, and she's going to be chaining with Esther's Limit Burst with a thunder weapon. That's all that really matters. And that's going to be our team. So let's give it a go. So this should handle all the mechanics. I'm going to go over them step by step during the fight, so you can really get a grasp of what's going on. I know in my previous clear I was kind of doing it quickly, and I actually didn't understand it myself on my very first clear because it just came out. But now we know what's going on. So this first turn is going to be an ambush where the boss does a gravity attack. It won't kill anyone, but it'll drop you to low health. So Barrel is going to magical cover, Lightning is going to provoke, and that's all they're going to do every turn for the rest of the fight. And Watto, all he's going to do is Dirt Wall technique every turn, rest of the fight. That's that Earth Resist buff for Barrel. Deuce is going to Hymn of Healing, which gives us that healing without magic. And Lauren's going to break, and Esther is going to Shock Embrace and Combat Overdrive. What that does is it adds an Imperil to the boss, a strong Imperil. It imbues Esther with Lightning, and it also gives her a nice attack buff, so she'll be ready for some big bursts next turn. Now on this first turn, we don't quite have Deuce's Spirit and Defense buffs active yet until turn 3. So this first turn is going to be a little dangerous with Barrel, but I mean he's okay. And like I said, if you've got like Charlotte or someone, it's so much more powerful than Barrel for magical tanking. So again, we're just going to reload these 3 every turn, and now we're going to Tempest Flash and Limit Burst with Lauren and Esther. So this should deal a nice chunk of damage. Okay, so it didn't push the threshold. The first threshold is at 60%. Now once we get there, I'll explain more what's going on, but for now, we're just doing damage. Now you'll notice that most of the damage Barrel has taken is like 2 damage, 5 damage. That's because he's at 295% Earth Resist. So he is short 5%. So he's only taking like 5 points of damage, whatever, per hit, which is fine. Okay, so let's see here. That finished up. So now we're going to go ahead and chain with Esther with Bolting Strike. This doesn't actually chain these 2 abilities, but that might chain a little bit. We want to try to push below 60 if possible. We're not going to. That's okay. So we're going to repeat these. Deuce now has her Dark Green Nocturne unlocked, which is a more powerful song. We'll now be using that for the remainder of the fight. It's a better healing song that also buffs our defensive spirit, which is fine. Okay. Alright. Now we would need to re-break here, but we're going to push a threshold, and on the threshold the boss doesn't actually attack you. So I'm not going to worry about re-breaking this turn. Instead, I'm just going to pop a Limit Burst, and Lauren, we're going to chain again. So we're going to go ahead and chain, but before we do that, let's summon an Esper for that mission. And let's have Watto cast a Limit Burst for the mission, just to get it out of the way. I've never seen this Limit Burst, actually. Okay, that's cool. And now we're going to chain. So we're going to push below 60. So now the boss is below 60. He's going to do a threshold attack. Let's go ahead and cover with Barrel, because again, all the magic cover tank is covered every turn. This is going to be a gravity attack, and the boss is going to buff himself. Okay, no problem. So we can't hurt the boss for the next few turns. He's immune, but you need to dispel that attack and magic buff. That 60% threshold will buff his attack and magic. So to dispel that, we're just going to use Esther to toss out a Holy Torch and dispel. You can dispel any way you want. Holy Torch, Finger Snap, whatever. Get rid of the boss's buffs. But you can't get rid of his immunities. So we are going to re-break him with Lauren. And then Lightning is going to provoke. Barrel is going to cover, and Watto is going to Dirt Wall technique. And Deuce's song will heal us up at the end of the turn. There we go. It heals up, and we're good. Now that Execution was the attack that will kill a non-evade tank. That's why you need an evade provoker. But Execution will deal 0 damage to someone with evasion. It deals 99,000 damage if you don't have evasion. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's just the way it is. but an evade provoker will never die to execution. Alright, so now we're still just waiting out the boss's mitigation, so we'll just repeat these. We'll have Esther. Her cooldowns are ready again, so Combat Overdrive, Shock Embrace, and I guess we'll just Demagnetize or Bolting Strike, whatever. Lauren will use her cooldown, General's Manifesto, just so she doesn't have to worry about breaks for the next turn, because next turn we're going to be ready to chain again. Okay. Now, as you see, with a magical tank at 300% Earth Resist, takes almost no damage, good breaks on the boss, and an evasion provoker. Like, the damage is very minimal. Like, we're using, Watto and Deuce. So now we're going to, again, use Lauren and Esther to chain. Now, if you don't have Lauren, some other units that chain with Esther are Ellaspiris, Aurora Ferevia. I'll look in a moment. Let's go ahead and do this first. Tempest Blast. Now, the bosses that unlock at 4% health, it's just something that happens. Nothing you can do about it. You just gotta wait it out. Deuce, let's do your Dark Green Nocturne again, and the rest of these, we'll just repeat what they've been doing. Let's see who else chains with Esther. I can give you some quick ideas. Ellaspiris, Malphaziken, who else? Victor Marchenko, Lilith, Kunshira, Axstar, Esther, Nagi, King Edgar, Randy, Flint. Okay, there's a whole lot of people. Charlotte chained with Esther. Just whoever you're using to chain with Esther, just give them a thunder weapon so they chain properly. Alright, so once again, we're going to use Esther to Tempest Strike. We'll just Bolting Strike 3 times. This is going to obviously kill the boss. We need to do a bunch of Limit Burst, so we're going to do some Limit Burst here, just for the mission, and we'll go ahead and finish the boss off. So there we go. So we summoned an Esper, we did 5 Limit Bursts, and no one died. So there's a very stable way to do the Egg Exterminator Legendary Trial. Now, in my clears earlier this morning, I used physical cover on all my clears because I didn't quite understand the fight. It was brand new to Global. I didn't know what to expect. I just went with my gut and physical cover. But I do think magic cover is probably the safer route with a single target evasion provoker. So for future kills, if you want to get that 25 turn mission, you would come in here again and you would just swap out like 1 unit at a time. Well, you wouldn't grab Awakened Rain, obviously. You would grab like a new Esther, grab an Esther. You would swap out your evasion provoker. So you would, for example, like grab like I got Noctis. By the way, the 5-star ticket is, as an aside, the 5-star ticket that we got from Clearing Pro gave me my second Noctis. I am so thrilled about that. You have no idea. I am so happy to get my second Ring of the Lucide. But we're getting off topic. But you would swap out, a few units at a time. Like, Noctis would be our new evasion provoker. Instead of Deuce, we could bring like Folka, for example. Folka could be the healer. Instead of Watto, you would swap out for, Zargaboth, who was in here somewhere. Zargaboth. And, instead of Beryl as your magic cover tank, you could swap out for Bosch. So there you go. And then do the exact same strategy. Instead of Lauren, you could swap out, whoever. But you do need a breaker, so fit a breaker in there somewhere. And, we could use the same exact team, same exact party roles, and this would be, 4 more units. And you would just repeat that throughout until you get it all. And if you don't have many units, you can just do more. It's 5 energy a pop. Just do more clears. So there you go. There's hopefully a more budget way to knock out the Legendary Egg. See you guys for the next one.